It's Thursday, September 7. In the headlines in local news, taxi and bus fares to be increased soon. In business news, gas and diesel prices are down. Regionally, in Trinidad and Tobago, regional bodies boost response to arms trafficking. Internationally, judge refuses to try two defendants separately in Trump case. And in sports, Khadija Bunny Shaw among the nominees for Ballon d'Or Award. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I'm Brittany Clark. Commuters could see an increase in taxi and bus fares soon. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz says he is in receipt of a report from the Public Passenger Vehicles Steering Committee, which has been deliberating on fare adjustments for the transport sector. The transport groups have been lobbying for a fare adjustment over the last several years. He gave an update during a post-cabinet press briefing Wednesday morning at Jamaica House.
I have not read, but I have received, in my absence from office yesterday, the steering committee's report on the fare increases, which will be discussed internally and, of course, taken to Cabinet in short order once we review.
He reiterated that the issues facing the transport sector are being dealt with and the public will be informed as they are confronted and resolved.
This has to be tied to better service in the transportation industry. So you will hear more about that. But as I said before, we are committed as a government to deal and confront all the issues with a view of making sure at the end of the day that the traveling public are the beneficiaries of an improved transportation system.
The minister explained some plans to ensure an improved service within the transportation sector. One such plan is to tighten assessments given to transport operators with the JUTC.
In the public passenger transport, we'll have to undergo a course, not in person, online, and of course it will be worked out throughout the island to make it convenient, but most importantly, that they will not be able to go behind that steering wheel without that certificate, which will do two things. It will give them the necessary training, and it will obviously make sure that those that are driving are qualified to drive, and not this current situation where we have people who are driving in all the different industries that either can't spell or can't read. All right. So that is a holistic approach in terms of weeding out some of what is happening in the transport sector now in terms, but that's creating the indiscipline, obviously because they don't know any better. They don't know the laws.
Fuel theft continues to be a challenge to the financial operation of the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz says plans are being laid to move away from diesel-powered buses in a bid to stem the practice. He addressed the matter during Wednesday's post-cabinet press brief.
These buses that we are speaking about, whether it be 200 or 300 or 500 over the next 3 to 5 years, will be CNG buses and electric buses. More CNG for the immediate and electric for the medium term. Once that is integrated into the fleet, you will retire a significant amount of the existing fleet, which, as I said before, uses diesel oil. And once that is done, that will take care of the leakage.
Despite the serious problem of fuel theft at the JUTC, the company has not been able to place a figure on the size of the problem. In July 2022, Managing Director of the company, Paul Abrahams, told the meeting of the Public Administration and Appropriations Committee of Parliament that the company has been battling pilferage of fuel from its inception. Jamaica is set to join the world in recognizing International Coastal Cleanup ICC Day on Saturday, September 16. The National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, is coordinating the day's activities in partnership with several corporate agencies. The activities will include clearing garbage and other debris from the shipwreck in Palisadoes, Port Royal. Underwater cleanup activities will also be carried out simultaneously at the Norman Manley Sea Park Beach and Cliffs West End in Negril. Beaches coordinator at NEPA, Jodil Ebanks, encouraged citizens to sign up to be volunteers on the day. They may do so by sending an email to avatomlinson@nepa.gov.jm or by calling 876-754-7540. Importantly, she noted that persons may sign up as individuals or groups. This month, we salute Amoy Page of Math Amoy Tricks as our community hero.
The role of a teacher is to inspire, motivate, encourage, and educate learners. That describes this community hero, Amoy Page, and her subject of choice is mathematics.
Went to Holy Child High School, did sixth form at Dintil Technical High School, where I was the deputy head girl. So after Dintil, I went to UWI, and again, I studied math. I studied actuarial science. It's pretty much risk management, but a lot of math. And I realized that that kind of concreted my passion that I had for math when I realized that, okay, I'm going to take this to a different level, CXC. I did Cape Maths also, and the teacher was pretty young. So it was 6 of us in the class, and technically the teacher made 7 students because she was young and new to the whole Cape Math thing, so we were all learning together. So it was a lot of research, having to figure out things together, and that kind of concrete my love for math. I realized that, okay, I really like this thing.
And her grades in Cape?
Ones. All ones.
When did your love of math begin?
From I was in grade 4, my parents decided to send me to math class. So I was doing math Saturday class for GSAT from grade 4 in Linstead. And then when I passed GSAT, started to go to high school, my father started sending me to CXC math classes from grade 9. So I was pretty much ready to do CXC math from grade 9, but my father decided not to allow me to do the exam. So I did the exam in grade 11. So I did 3 years of CXC math. And then I just realized that I love math from ever since. It was pretty much interesting to solve. So you know that when you solve a math problem, if it's hard, so for instance, circle theorem, it's hard to kind of like find X because it's a lot of angles and things. So when I realized that I actually find it, that joy that I find inside, it was just, okay, I need to continue doing this because the joy that I get afterwards was just so satisfying. So I realized that, you know, there was this love for math from ever since, and just solving the problems, it just was peaceful. There are times when I'm bored and I actually go do a math question. So, yeah. I have a little tagline that math is beautiful. If you love math, it will love you. So just be kind and gentle to math, and you'll realize that it starts to look different. When you look at it through a different lens, I promise you, you'll realize that it's easy. It's actually easy. It's just simple steps to it's just simple steps to solving something that seems complicated. So if you know that 1 + 1 is 2, you just want the basics. 1 + 1 is 2. So if them give you 2 + 1, you already know that you just need to add 1 more. It's building blocks. It's like building blocks. Let me just put it that way.
How did the teaching come into play?
So from ever since, I always teach. So I would teach the furniture, I would teach the teddy bears, I would teach my little sister. My little sister is 8 years younger than me. So sometimes I'd go to her and I'd say, okay, this is how you do this. As much as she won't understand, because it's a good gap between the both of us, I'd always teach her. I'd always just, and again, from a talk to the furniture, you must know that it's serious. So they're not responding. I don't know if they understand. But my thing is, once I can explain it to you, then I understand it. So I would teach. And then when my sister now got to grade 10, she would always come to me asking me to help her with some little tricks. How do I remember this? It's been so long. How do you even remember it? What do you do? Right? And I said, okay. And I started teaching her and telling her how to do things and some little tricks that I had. And then she started telling her friends, and then her friends then want me to tell them the tricks as well. And then that was how this whole mathematrix birthing, teaching persons how to do math came about.
Give us an example.
I have a little song. So there's this little song to row, row, row your boat. It says, same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Keep the sign of the larger number, that will be exact. So if you're doing direct numbers, if you have a negative 2 minus 1, how do I remember that that's negative 3? If the signs are the same, negative 2 and negative 1, the signs are the same. So you add the numbers and then keep the sign. Right? If the signs are different, so if it was negative 5 plus 2, you would subtract the numbers and then keep the sign at a larger number, and that would be exact. So there are little things, little tricks that would help you to remember how to go about doing it.
Time now for the business report with Danita Rodney.
Motorists should see a decrease at the pumps in the price of gasoline effective Thursday, September 7, according to the latest ex-refinery costs from Petrojam. With both grades of gasoline down by 25 cents, 90-octane gasoline will sell for $192.71 per liter, while 87-octane will sell for $188.20 per liter. Automotive diesel fuel will sell for $183.84 per liter after a decrease of 31 cents, and ultra-low sulfur diesel will sell for $191.60 per liter, down by 46 cents. Kerosene decreased by 25 cents, will sell for $190.62 per liter. Propane liquid petroleum will sell for $66.48 per liter, up by $1.63, and butane liquid petroleum will sell for $74.35 per liter after an increase of $1.95. Remember that marketing companies and retailers will add their respective markup to these prices. Tax Administration Jamaica TAJ has announced that 4 of its tax offices have been ISO 9001-2015 certified by the National Certification Body of Jamaica. This certification means the Revenue Authority has acquired approval for being in compliance with the internationally recognized standard for quality management systems. The certified locations are St. Andrew Revenue Service Center, Constant Spring, Maypen Tax Office, Spanish Town Tax Office, and the Falmouth Tax Office. The Tax Authority is now one of 15 entities identified by the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service to undergo the World Bank-funded certification activity. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Wednesday, September 6, the US dollar sold for an average of $155.44. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $113.97. The pound sterling traded for $194.73, and the euro sold for $171.10. In JSE trading, the JSE index declined by over 2,522 points. The junior market index declined by over 114 points. The combined market index declined by over 3,399 points, and the All Jamaican Composite Index declined by over 1,333 points. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 107 stocks, of which 36 advanced, 60 declined, and 11 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, and the AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited. Stocks declined for Access Financial Services Limited, Berger Paints Jamaica Limited, and the CAC 2000 Limited. Trading firm were Caribbean Cream Limited, Epley Limited 7.75% preference shares, and the First Rock Real Estate Investments Limited USD. The overall volume leaders were JMB Group Limited 7.50% with over 3 million units, Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited with over 3 million units, and the Trans-Jamaican Highway Limited USD with over 800,000 units. In regional stocks, in Trinidad and Tobago, Calypso Macro Index Fund posted a volume of 3 shares. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Government of Barbados Bond Series B was the volume leader with over 14,000 shares. They were followed by Goddard Enterprises Limited, which traded 5,025 shares, and the Barbados Farms Limited, which traded 1,200 shares. In regional business, Guyanese honey producers are set to collaborate with Cuban specialists to establish a shared honey brand associated with Guyana. This initiative aims to address the challenges faced by Guyana's honey industry and create a recognized brand that represents the country's high-quality honey products.
Guyanese honey producers have been experiencing substantial difficulties exporting locally made honey into the Caribbean due to laws in the twin island of Trinidad and Tobago that block transshipment. Against this backdrop, President Irfan Ali announced during the final day of the National Two Shelves Council conference that his government will be investing in 4 Cuban specialists who will work with members of the indigenous communities to expand the honey industry.
And we want to create a common brand of honey that is associated with Guyana's rainforests that can be marketed as a specialized product.
This initiative will be executed by the Guyana Marketing Corporation in collaboration with the Ministry of Agriculture to support organic honey production. He further stated that in the 2024 national budget, $300 million will be allocated to food security and agricultural development in the hinterland communities. In addition, a special unit will be dedicated to the development of hinterland food production.
Every single region to identify young people, yourselves, who can be trained to become vets, agricultural support staff, extension officers, and we are going to train them. We're going to pay for their training and send them back to the communities to work full-time with you.
To support food production, food security, and agriculture expansion in those communities, the president said his government is willing to train some 150 young people in those areas. Trinidad and Tobago's honey, bees, and bee products are guided by the island's age-old Food and Drug Act of 1960. And as per the country's Beekeeping and Bee Products Act, only honey originating from the Windward and Leeward Islands can be transshipped to the Twin Island Republic. Renata Burnett, reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
In international business, Wall Street closed lower after stronger than expected services sector data fueled concerns that still sticky inflation would mean that interest rates would stay higher for longer.
The Dow shed more than 0.5%, the S&P 500 dropped 0.7%, and the Nasdaq lost 1%. A report from the Institute for Supply Management showed that the services sector unexpectedly gained steam in August, with more new orders and higher costs for businesses, potential signs of still elevated inflation pressures. Scott Ladner is Chief Investment Officer at Horizon Investments.
We're getting stronger economic data. It means the economy is still resilient. We're still chugging along, and that's increasing the chances that the Fed may end up going again sometime in November. We don't think it's the case, but that's what the market is reacting to today.
While traders still overwhelmingly believe the Federal Reserve will leave interest rates unchanged after its meeting on September 20th, expectations for another pause in November are much lower, according to CME Group's FedWatch tool. On top of rate concerns, Apple, which shed more than 3.5%, was pressured by a report that China had banned officials at central government agencies from using iPhones and other foreign-branded devices for work. Lockheed Martin shares sank nearly 5% after the U.S. weapons maker trimmed the delivery outlook for its F-35 jets. And Roku shares gained almost 3% after the company said it would reduce its workforce by about 10% and limit new hiring.
In market data for oil prices eased as an uncertain economic outlook for China outweighed expectations of tighter supplies from extended supply cuts in Saudi Arabia and Russia. Brent crude futures fell 42 cents to $90.18 a barrel, while West Texas Intermediate crude futures fell 52 cents to $87.02. And that was the business report on PBCJ. I'm Denita Rodney.
In regional news, the Barbadian government has committed to working with stakeholders to make healthy food more affordable. Minister of Energy and Business, Senator Lisa Cummins, gave assurance at the start of a workshop on front-of-package warning labels.
We have to be able to make it affordable for people to eat healthy food, and that is also an important part of the conversation. It's fine to label it. It's fine to say it's high in salt. So things like ramen, for example, which are incredibly popular, they're very high in salt. They're inexpensive, easily accessible, but we have to also make things which are healthier just as accessible as we do things which are filling, but also going to result in costs a little later by way of the health system. The DCCA, Department of Commerce and Consumer Affairs, they are the designated authority in this instance as well. We have the team here in the person of the director and the deputy director. That team, equally so, would not have the capacity to be putting stickers on all of the imported products coming into the market. It's not a practical solution. So together with the BNSI and the DCCA, we have to be able to work together with you to implement solutions that work not just on paper, but in reality, so that we are moving more steadily and efficiently towards a common goal.
Several regional agencies have signed a letter of intent which aims to enhance regional integration of the security and public health responses to firearms trafficking and violence. TTT News has these details.
The CARICOM Implementation Agency for Crime and Security, the Caribbean Public Health Agency, the University of the West Indies, and the Small Arms Survey signed the letter to agree on the joint project. The signing ceremony was conducted on Tuesday evening at the Hyatt Regency, and CARICOM Impacts said the project builds on the findings and recommendations of the Caribbean Firearms Study, published in 2023. Researcher at the Small Arms Survey, Anne Severy, said the agreement is timely given CARICOM's recent view to treat crime and gun violence as a public health issue.
Findings from the Caribbean Firearms Study indicated that law enforcement and forensic units that collect and process evidence at crime scenes often offer unique opportunities to monitor illicit ammunition and firearms and their possible origin. But this also requires these units to collect and share data with other countries in the region more routinely.
And Executive Director of CARICOM Impacts, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Jones, said he believes the integration between all agencies will benefit the region significantly.
Growing research proves that the most effective way to tackle gun violence is to stop thinking of gun control as only a law enforcement issue, and I'm sure the Commissioner will be glad to hear that, but let us see gun violence as a public health issue as well. In its basic form, the public health model says that you intervene in as many places as possible. That is, that there's no magic solution. There are several solutions and many areas of intervention, and this requires a multi-sectoral approach.
Schools have reopened in St. Kitts and Nevis with the new hair policy guidelines for students in place. More from SKN News.
According to the new policy, males cannot wear beaded hair or twisted out hairstyles. For female students, wigs and weaves are not allowed, extensions must not be longer than shoulder length, and unnatural hair color, dyes or colored sprays should not be placed in the hair. However, if a female student is suffering from a proven medical issue such as alopecia, scalp infections, lupus, and cancer, she will be allowed to wear a wig. Neatly done locks, afros, and cornrows are permitted in the new policy. In addition, students will be presented with specialized safety guidelines to follow when utilizing rooms such as the science labs, industrial shops, home economic centers, etc. Parents and guardians are advised to check with the schools or the Department of Education for the detailed policy. Several weeks ago, the Ministry of Education stated, quote, "The goal of the new hair guidelines for students is to create an inclusive and respectful environment that promotes diversity and self-expression in line with the school standards. The guidelines emphasize comfort, cleanliness, and neatness. They safeguard against discrimination while maintaining safety and a professional appearance. They aim to reduce feelings of insecurity and support students' mental health and well-being," end quote. Nevertheless, the People's Action Movement, in a recent press release, criticized the Ministry of Education, saying their actions were high-handed and tantamount to bullying. Glenn Barrett reporting for SK Newsline.
In international news, 2 of Donald Trump's 18 co-defendants in the Georgia election meddling case will be tried in October after a judge rejected their motion to have their cases tried separately. Al Jazeera's Mike Hanna reports.
It is going to significantly affect these defendants' rights to a fair and impartial trial.
It took Superior Judge Scott McAfee less than 2 hours to come to a decision. He rejected the arguments of Trump-aligned lawyers Kenneth Chesbrough and Sidney Powell that they should be tried singly and separately in this racketeering case.
I'm not finding the severance from Mr. Chesbrough or Powell is necessary to achieve a fair determination of the guilt or innocence for either defendant in this case.
Prosecutors want all defendants tried together in late October. They told the judge that the trial would take the same amount of time whether it was for 2 or 19 defendants, and the judge has asked them to appear on Tuesday next week to present further argument to support their case.
Judge, we contend that we must prove the entire conspiracy against each and every one charged. Each and every one charged. So the court, in the interest of judicial economy, would have to make the decision as to whether or not the court wants to try the same case 19 times.
The prosecution says it expects the trial to take 4 months after jury selection and that more than 150 witnesses will be called. Jury selection can take a long time. For example, jury selection is still underway in a racketeering case that began in this court in January.
And we plan to make that October 23rd trial date stick.
The question to be resolved, whether the trial of all 19 defendants begins on October the 23rd. Given the timelines, a trial that begins on this date would well conclude around the 4th of March next year. That's the date set for the beginning of the federal trial against the former president, whose diary during a presidential campaign is getting more and more crowded. Judge McAfee is likely to take a final decision on this trial date after he hears from prosecutors next Tuesday. Mike Hanna, Al Jazeera, Atlanta.
In sports, Jamaica's Reggae Girls captain and Manchester City forward Khadija Bonishaw is among this year's nominees for Women's Ballon d'Or football's most prestigious individual award, announced on Wednesday. She is the first Jamaican man or woman to ever be nominated for the prize. Bonishaw scored a club single-season record of 31 times in 30 matches for Manchester City in the Barclays Women's Super League last season, while also providing 9 assists. She is among 30 nominees shortlisted for the award. On the pitch with cricket, despite winning 4 of their 5 matches and having no result in the other, Guyana Amazon Warriors batter Shai Hope believes the franchise can be more clinical in winning. The Warriors currently have 9 points at the top of the table, 1 ahead of St. Lucia Kings, and Hope opines that one area that needs improvement going forward is the bowling.
Big one here today. How big a victory is this for the Warriors on that path to get into that first title?
Yes, as you say, it's a very big victory. It's one of the games that we always look forward to, and beating Trinidad in their hometown is always a special victory for us.
Yeah, and you thought at the halfway stage you had limited them to the amount that you could actually go after?
Yeah, well, funny enough, it's not. It was a pretty sore start for them, but I thought the pitch played a bit up and down. You saw a few balls keeping low from Salem Keen especially, but I thought that we bowled pretty well to restrict them to that total, and we know with our batting depth that we always could chase down any score that anyone puts there. So I would still, if I want to be critical for our bowlers, I still think we could restrict them for a little less. But again, we're still happy with the bowling effort.
Still unbeaten in the tournament. Any areas of improvement you think you guys could focus on going forward?
There's always areas to improve. I think we could be more clinical with our wins. We see that we put in some decent performances over the first few games that we've played. But again, if you want to be really critical, we look at the consistency in bowling, make sure that our bowlers hitting our lines and lengths for a longer period of time, and make sure that make hard work for the batters whenever we play. And then with the bat in front, just keep doing what we're doing.
That's news on PBCJ. You can follow us on our social media platforms at PBCJamaica. Thanks for watching.